course, I want to stay away too long, but sometimes I need a break from the channel too. In any case, I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep this as a new series of like Wickedly Divine coaching or if I'm going to put it into the Divine Nuggets, but join me for the adventure. So this one is going to just be a short video about what to do when you find yourself in an unhealthy dynamic with someone who's helped you in the past. This is something that Spirit has brought me through again and again and again over the past 21 months since Separation Mission started. And I can see that my DM has been brought through it too, and right now, I think that's probably his biggest battle. It was mine for a while too. I mean, and this started early on from my family. You know, if somebody helps you, it's like you vow your life to them, you know, like you gave me a piece of paper that one day, and so I vow to be, I don't know, I vow fealty to you for the rest of your life. I don't know. That's kind of what it seems like now. Like, I remember being in it, and it was like, oh, but that person helped me. I can't ever let them down now. Like, it really felt like that. And now that I've been through it a couple of times, like, one, those, you know, the people, okay, what often happens and why you need boundaries in these situations is because we have kind of a collective thing. It's happened in many communities. Like, if somebody lended you some of their time or emotional labor or car or money or thing, and then, you know, you're reciprocating, you're doing likewise, you're returning it, but then if things start to turn toxic or the attachment goes in a weird way and you want to let it go, one of the first things that an unhealthy person will do is just go, but I helped you, or that person helped you and you just let me down, you totally ruined it, like, you know, or you're just awful and mean, I'm deleting you. Like, I mean, I could count the amount of things, like, and for me it's fun because it's a newer experience, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, this is the first year that I've done stuff like that. But the best thing I can say is just get to a point to where you recognize that you are you and that it is okay to release any sort of relationship, whether friendship or family relationship or romantic one, if it goes weird. Like, don't hold yourself to it just because they helped you once, twice, a few times. Like, if it goes bad, it goes bad. And then at that point, you've kind of voided the contract of the whole thing in the beginning anyways. And don't hold, you know, release resentment and animosity. Obviously, if that other person knew how to be better, they would be better. And what I've found most often too is that by being able to let them release themselves is what they usually do in that situation. But even if you need to push someone away a little bit, it actually helps them, because if you do it calmly and not like a pirate, which I'll explain more later because I was a pirate for the last week and a half and that's why I wasn't on here, but like, if you can do it gracefully, like 90% of the time, you often actually give that person the gift of an example of what healthy boundaries look like, and they get the trigger, which makes them look at, like, I've had a few people get mad at, like, when I'm like, okay, this is going in a not good direction and I'm done with it. It was nice to know you. Thank you for the time I got to be a part of your story and you got to be a part of mine. And they might even go so far as saying, like, but I thought you were different, which really means, like, I thought you weren't going to leave me, which is yes and no. Like, there was no conversation about that. And that similar things have happened in other dynamics. But thankfully, one of the first dynamic friendships that I got into in Separation Mission, you know, we went all through all the depths of codependence. If not for that friendship becoming very codependent, I would still be enjoying all of the little, like, ins and outs and stuff that I had with that friend. But I enjoy the memories we had and the energies that we had, and that, you know, I know that she's at a point too where she's probably doing that too, but, like, you know, I went through and learned all of it, and because we had each other, we were able to release many more. And the hardest part is when you see someone else hurting themselves on you letting them go. In actually, it's funny how many people will say, I just wish someone would be straight up with me, or just tell me to my face, or say it outright, or just end it cleanly, and then you do it and they're almost more offended than the people who did it messy, you know, which is human too. Like, I'm a big believer that it does nobody any good to stay. Like we can be amused with it, we can be grateful for it, but to be in a place where you're like resentful for it, that doesn't help you or anybody else. It just makes icky energy. So have grace with people, just the way you want them to have grace. But definitely, get to a point to where you understand what your boundaries are. Like, you can have friendships that stay completely platonic, but they almost get into like a romantic intimacy sense. Or maybe you have you started a friendship or a romantic situation with somebody where you were talking a lot in the beginning to kind of distract yourself or get away from thoughts of other things, or to talk about stuff and process it, and then you notice that there's kind of a natural wane in it. The original kind of unspoken contract of what you were there for each other is not really there, and then on top of that it gets unhealthy. You're going to have to look at your feelings about letting it go. Like, are you afraid you won't have any more friends? Are you afraid that they won't have any more friends? Is it a lack of faith in them to be okay if you let them go? Or vice versa, a lack of faith in yourself to let it go? Because that's usually where it is. And once you figure out that boundary on there, when you've done enough work in the rest of the journey and you have at least a decent amount of self-love, you're going to notice that if you're not happy with any sort of relationship, everybody reflects you, everybody's you pushed out. So if you're not happy, they're not happy either. And when you get to that point to where you're not telling them everything, or you're letting the truth be malleable and stuff like that, or you're changing your mind a lot, you're already in a point where it's already going unhealthy, and you really should say, you know what, I want to put it down, even if you just want to put it down for a little while and see what happens. And like, you can try communicating that with them, and if they're not in a place where they can handle that, then really ultimately you're right to put it down at that moment. And the great thing is, people change their minds all the time, and sometimes we need to go through separations from people so that we can go and learn something else that can oftentimes spiral us back to where we can have the kind of dynamic that we want with those people. So the better you can get at having just the healthy boundary of, like, I don't even know how to explain it. I'll have to do other videos, but you got to look at, like, where is it that you get angry with people, or where is it that you get triggered with people? You don't want to avoid all triggers. They'll help you grow. But if you keep touching a trigger, or someone keeps touching a trigger of yours, that's your energy and their energy saying, there's no more in this right now, or this is going to bring you down if you keep going to this. So get to where you can release that, right? And then get to where you can communicate it. I find being authentic is just the easiest thing. I mean, we all try to do this thing where we're like, I love you, but I'm just so busy and I don't have time and I've got all these things going on. I used to do it too, so I'm allowed to make fun because I did it too. But it's like, I'm just gonna be sick for the rest of my life, or my girlfriend or husband or wife doesn't like me talking to anybody, or or whatever thing. Like, we make up some of the funniest bullshit nonsense to try to, like, let go of a friendship or relationship. And the best thing is usually just, hey, this doesn't feel good to me anymore. I appreciate the time we've spent together, and I wish you all the best. Goodbye. And then, if they're sending a bunch of stuff, block them for a little while. They'll stop eventually. And I'm not a fan of ghosting, but that's not ghosting. Like communicating what you're doing and putting it there is not ghosting. Especially if you've had, what did they say? Like, if you've only known them a month or two or that, like, that's not, even within a few years, that's not, like, and especially because it's unhealthy to be put in situations where you're constantly explaining yourself. Like, it's just easier to be upfront, leave them with that simple, like, hey, this doesn't feel good anymore, something simple, and then just allow them to have their feelings and have grace for them, because they probably never had somebody do it so simply, so directly, without blame, without all that stuff. And remember, I used to be in a place too where it's like, explain it to me before you leave me anyways. Like, and no, sometimes you don't. Like, yes, it'd be nice in many situations, but that requires both people being in a healthy, emotionally secure energy where you can both hear each other's feedback. And that does happen a lot. I've met a lot of people that you can have those experiences with. So if you run into someone who's not there yet, do something for them that no one else has done. Have faith that through the experience of you separating from them, that they will be so like turned about it that they'll even look into it, or they might try it with others, or they might sit and examine it and think about, oh, there was something different. This person was different. Look at how they did this. I wonder what it would feel like to do that. And have faith in them, because a lot of times we get so insecure and codependent and toxic because we didn't feel anybody had faith in us, and so we did not have faith in ourselves. That felt like a really wise energy, so I'm going to leave it there, and we'll see what I talk about next. Thank you for those of you who came in and watched and commented, and I'll catch you next video.